Hello everybody, this is Crispy here. One night I stumbled upon a series of videos on YouTube titled The Conspiracy Iceberg Trilogy that covered various theories on video games. And one of these videos gave me an interesting idea to see if there's any theories on the Mother series. But luckily for us, there's a Reddit user by the name of Ryan that came up with a great chart on r/Earthbound, which I will put a link in the description. Now, this video may include such theories in the video as Ness's sand, which is highly fucking original. I know the game theories probably cover this, but it's fine, we're gonna do it anyways. Ness's dad is actually phone, and for some fucking reason, Flint's doorknob. Now, let's get right onto the very top of this iceberg. Eat. There's this theory that the final boss in Earthbound, Giygas, resembles a fetus, but let's get into the creator of this game, Shigatsu Ito, and his inspiration for Giygas. Ito, as a young boy, went into a movie theater and accidentally wandered into a screening of a movie called The Military Policeman and Dismembered Beauty. There's one scene in this movie where a man in a hospital gown strangles a woman and then proceeds to drag her into a surgery room to possibly dissect her. But it's not shown in the movie, rather the camera cuts to, like an ambient silence. And this scene in the film that Ito saw as a child, had destroyed his innocence and would eventually lead him to the creation of this boss. There are other factors included in this game that explore this idea, but we must move on to the next theory on this list. I'm sure you've seen this one covered by the game theorists, but regardless, we're gonna fucking do it anyways. So anyways, Toby Fox, the creator of Undertale, made a reference in his game where a badge, a photo album, and with Sans and various other people are described in text or found in the secret room. But there's the exact similarity because there's a photo where Ness and his friends do the same kind of poses and whatnot, but that's pretty much it for this theory. You must be thinking, what the hell is Flint's doorknob? Well, it's pretty much this recurring joke that's found in this game, Mother 3, and it makes its first appearance in Chapter 1 and finishes all the way towards the end of the game, but that pretty much does it for this one. Tony is one of the party members of a character named Chef. There was indeed an interview of Ito in an online Japanese blog by the name of www.1101.com, where Ito was questioned if Tony was gay, and Ito states the following: well, for example, there is a gay person in Mother 2, a really passionate friend who lives in an England-like place. I designed him to be a gay child. In a normal real-life society there are gay children, and I have many gay friends as well. So I thought it'd be nice to add one in the game too. And this pretty much confirms that Tony is indeed gay, since the Ito himself said so. Ness finds a village in the game that has cult members that practice Happyism. You must be thinking, well, CRISPR, what the hell does Happyism and Shiriko have in common? Well, in the game, these members share a similar attire and its symbol with the real-life cult of Shiriko. And for those who are not familiar, I'll give a brief summary on what this cult was about. Now, this cult was founded by a man named Shoko Asahara, and his cult claimed that he was the next prophet in line to bring peace and prosperity. Unfortunately, this cult carried out an attack on the Tokyo subway station in 1995, which claimed many innocent lives. But that's about it. There are many similarities, including, as I mentioned before, their clothes, their attire, and the way they go about spreading their ideas by causing violence to the main character and brainwashing and doing whatever it takes to spread out this idea further and further in this little town. But that's about it for this one. The theory for this one comes in due to the fact that there's a connection between Flint and Ness, but the only connection we have is that Flint having a courage badge. Same thing just like Ness did, but that's the only thing that connects these two characters of them being possibly related, but I highly doubt it. This one will contain a spoiler, so you are warned, man. But in this game, Mother 3, there's an unused version of the final battle, in which there is a representation of how Lucas sees Klaus throughout the battle. While Klaus was the masked man, it's a very eerie battle of disfigurement faces that are seen in this video, but that's about it for this one. This one may be a bit controversial, but there's a part of Earthbound where Ness has to fight 4 police officers and their captain. Now, this is where the Rodney King connection comes into play. This situation in Earthbound is similar to the Rodney King due to the fact that Rodney King was also beaten by 4 police officers and their captain. This may be a simple coincidence in this. The main idea, from what I understood about the Earthbound cryptics, is a connection to the Starman. The main inspiration for this enemy type is eerily similar to La Rebuta robots. And you might be thinking, what the hell is La Rebuta robots and how it's connected to this? Well, for starters, this robot is to be considered a humanoid ET just like the Starman, and this cryptic was allegedly reported by a Brazilian bus driver by the name of Antonio Laurina at 2:20 a.m. in the morning in September of 1977 while driving to work. But I would take this with a grain of salt, seeing that this information I took was from the Something Wiki, which isn't exactly the most credible thing, but that's from what I understood that their theory was about. The Earthbound original story. Now, I'm not quite sure what the hell this could possibly mean, but from what I understood, maybe it's referring to the Earthbound 64 version that was never made, due to the fact that Itawa, the main creator of the Mother franchise, couldn't be there all the time on site, and the game was only completed maybe 30%. But this may be in reference to what this is even talking about. I'm not quite sure, but if there is any more information, I would love to hear it from you guys. Thanks. This theory is a bit silly since we never see Ness's dad anywhere in the game. The only connection that I can assume is that the communication that Ness has with his father is through the phone, and I suppose that makes his dad the actual phone. I think so. Maybe the phone has the same color as Ness, but that's about it, because other than that, I don't know what the fuck could this all possibly connect that to being the actual phone, but I'm pretty sure this one is just a shit post. So, yeah. There are a couple of reasons that Mother 3 was not localized in America. In 1995, Earthbound was set to be sold for $69.95, which included a player's guide, which gave it that price tag. In today's year, that would roughly cost $120 fucking dollars. Now, the original game wasn't very known in the States, and with that expensive tag, it surely did not help its case to reach an American audience. This may have discouraged Nintendo from showing any more sequels in this franchise due to these low sales. And there's also many dark themes that are included in this game that may not be age appropriate, but this game is highly recommended. It's a very, very good game, and you should definitely give it a shot. I suppose for this topic, the whole encounter of fighting monsters and other creatures could be interpreted as Ness just using his imagination, and since he is a little kid, he would definitely want to bring his friends along to play along. But that might be just it for this one, so that's about it. I will be using a direct quote from Ryan, the creator of this Iceberg, since he did answer this one. And Ryan states that the cliff in Time Forgotten, Lost in the Underworld is a reference to a weird entrance to the cliff that Time forgot in a cave in the Lost Underworld. The cave is otherwise inaccessible until the end of the game, which requires a phase disorder to travel there. Why is it doing there? Why does no one comment on it? It certainly does raise a number of questions. And that about covers for this one, so thank you Ryan again for the answer. Later in this game, your party member Pooh must travel alone to complete his training in the mountains. However, this training is a bit disturbing. Now, I'm going to attempt to sound as edgy as fuck, since this part of the game is very, very dark, but pretty gnarly. The spirit in-game tells Pooh to complete your trial, you must break your legs. I will tear off your arms and feed them to the crows. I shall cut off your ears. Do you want to live in eternal darkness? And I will take your eyes. And finally, I can communicate through your mind directly. And I hope you enjoyed that, because that was pretty fucking cringe, and it's about as edgy as I could possibly get. But with all this training, Pooh has finally finished it, But this mood training could be compared to pain conditioning, which is commonly found in most martial arts training, which is a little fun fact for you. But that's about it for this one, for mood training. In this chapter, Lucas and Bonnie are falling from the pigmash ship and they manage to fall into a sunflower field. But this is not an ordinary field. Rather, this field is dedicated to Lucas's dead mother, Hinawa. And in this part of the game, Lucas sees his mother as a ghost and chases after it to the end of the field. This part of the section could be seen as Lucas is entering heaven and seeing his departed mother. This would mean that Lucas and Bonnie would have to be dead from the fall of the pigmash ship to have this vision. However, when Lucas reaches the end of this field, he later falls onto a pile of hay, which could be his reincarnation back onto Earth. It's a very interesting thought to have, since this could be plausible given this situation. I know it may be a bit lazy to again use Ryan quotes, since I should search the web on the subject, but I was really confused on this one, since the only Miyazakis that came to mind would be the creator of Dark Souls and the creator of Studio Ghibli, but I'll be using a direct quote from Ryan to explain this one. Miyazaki's writing in Mother 3 is based on the fact that the whole story structure is totally different from the other two games in this series and carries a whole bunch of tropes that usually associated with the Ghibli films. Pair all this with the fact that Ito is very good friends with Miyazaki and has even started a voice actor in his films. And it's a very good connection between these two, so for this one, thanks again, Ryan. I had tried to look up information for this subject, but I came up empty-handed. But again, I'll be using Ryan since he did answer this on his Reddit post. And he states the following. Heaven's Gate was a suicidal apocalypse cult from the 1990s, whose members all committed ritual suicide in order to climb aboard an external ship. They believed they would help them escape from the coming apocalypse and lead them to a paradise. And you can see as a parallel between that story and the story of how humanity got to Nowhere Island by climbing aboard the white ship in order to escape the destruction of the original Earth, which eventually will lead them to a paradise that was Nowhere Islands as well. It might be a bit of a stretch, so that's why it's in tier 4, and this wouldn't be the first time that Ito designed his plot around the famous cult. And again, I will give another big shout out to him, because again, I will be using him for the next one as well. I'm sure many of you viewers have heard of this most well-known anime called Evangelion. Now you must be thinking, how does Murder 3 have anything to do with Evangelion? Well, I stumbled upon a website titled the Flynn doorknob blogspot.com that shows some examples for this connection. There is a song in Evangelion that is pretty iconic named The End of Evangelion. However, due to YouTube being the copyright dictator that it is, I cannot show the music clip in question without this video being taken down. But we can show off where Mother 3 music is being compared though. The title in question is a theme song in Mother 3 called The Magic Gypsies, I think. And if we listen carefully in the beginning, it is similar to the end of Evangelion, which I will put now. These two properties have the same theme of motherhood and how it has the tragic event on these characters' emotional development. The three main characters of Evangelion, Asaka, Shinji, and Rei, do not have mothers just like the characters in Mother 3. You can see throughout the show on how its characters deal with these issues and ultimately affects how they develop towards the end of the series, just like in Mother 3. Also, there are some enemies in Mother 3 that are very similar to the enemies in the anime. For instance, Mineral from Mother 3 looks like Ramil in Evangelion. Also, in the end of the game, you run into an enemy that is diamond shaped just like the angel in Evangelion, but that may just be a similarity. But here's a little fun trivia fact that might be a little connection towards this theory, that Mother 2 was in fact created around when Evangelion first aired in Japan. So, that's about it for this one. Alright, after all that heaviness, let's move on to something that's a bit silly. Now, there's a YouTuber named Nabivio who made an Earthbound video called Earthbound 0, subliminal messages and secrets in this video, and he claims that 666 is written on the grass near Youngtown, but I'm pretty sure this is again another sort of shitpost, but I will indeed show a clip from this in question to see, in fact, if Youngtown is connected to Satan. I can only assume that this may mean why did Porky do what he did on Earthbound, but in Earthbound Porky just wanted power, which is driven by the Mani Mani's effect, and for those who are not familiar with this, Mani Mani is an evil statue that gives influence to Giygas, and Porky would see the statue as a source of power, and Mani probably wants to use Porky as a human vessel to spread his influence, so this may be what Porky did. I'm not quite sure, but if there are any corrections on this one, please put in the comments below. I would be more than happy to like it and give you a shout out for it. Thank you. Okay, I'm not sure what the hell this Frightbot story could be referring to. This might be some sort of reference to some kind of in-joke in the Earthbound community about the Frightbot enemy, because the only thing that this enemy does in the game is tell frightening stories to Mr. Saturn. So maybe there is something sinister written for these Frightbot dialogues, but I think this may just be a funny take on this Frightbot story, since it's not specifically mentioned what kind of story is told to Mr. Saturn using these Frightbots. Alright, we did it, guys. We finally reached the final theory of this iceberg. But I would feel a lot more comfortable using another direct quote from Ryan, since he has answered the meaning behind this theory in his post. He states that all NPCs are Sentinel, references to an old creepypasta where all NPCs in the game were actually human souls and Sentinel creatures that had been trapped inside the cartridge. Perhaps that is why the NPCs in Earthbound are a bit more human and relatable than most other characters in this game. End quote. Well, that's about does it for this one. So of course maybe some of the theories that I couldn't fully cover may be referencing to these creepypastas, but from what everything I understood, that's about it for this one. Thanks. There was a lot to pack in this video, but I hope you enjoyed from what I understood about these theories. I had a ton of joy going over each theory and putting my thoughts into making this video. And I hope you enjoyed this iceberg theory video on the Mother series, and I would like to give a huge thanks to Ryan for his Reddit post for this idea in this video, so I thank you kindly. And thank you for all who viewed the video, and we might do another video in this format in the future. And also again, I would like to give a big shout out to my friend Colossus for designing the thumbnail for this video. It's very cool, and thank you so much. Well, this is CRISPR, and I'll see y'all next time.